Hey guys, and welcome to the Random Watch Dude, and welcome to episode 3 of Watch Collecting Madness. So today's episode, I've given this the title of the Value Paradox, and in a nutshell, what I'm going to try and understand here and unpick, if you like, is how do we suddenly see huge amounts of value in an inanimate object like a wristwatch, a piece of man jewellery or woman jewellery. How do we see the value in that, and how do we not place the same relative amount of value in other things in our lives? And there's a question, I guess. I was trying to sort of put this in a really generalized perspective, and I've written it down, so I'll just read it to you. Is the generalized perspective is, why is it that I want to spend as little as I can on what I need and as much as I can on what I don't? And what I mean by that is, I don't really need any other wristwatch than a G-Shock, than a $150 G-Shock. So why is it that I want to spend as much money as I possibly can on a Rolex or a JLC or a Grand Seiko or an Omega? Why do I want to spend tens of thousands of dollars on a wristwatch that I could buy for $150 that does the same thing? But I don't want to go and spend any more than I absolutely need to on things that I absolutely must have in my life. And we'll take grocery shopping as an example of this. You know, when you go grocery shopping, I mean, these are things you need. You need food, right? You need water, you need milk, you need cereal, you need beer for some of you. I know I don't buy beer, I don't really drink, to be honest with you, but you know, there are things that you must have at home that are essential requirements for you in your life for happiness and satisfaction. But when you walk into the grocery store, what do? You look for the cheapest tins of baked beans. And I'm talking about myself now, because I eat a lot of baked beans, guys. Don't forget, I was born and bred in England. I eat a lot of baked beans. But despite the fact I love baked beans, and I have baked beans with most of my meals, most nights, along with obviously oodles and oodles of tomato sauce, I still try and buy the cheapest tins of baked beans that I possibly can. Now, why is that? I love baked beans, but I don't want to buy the really nice tasty ones. I want to buy the cheap ones. Why is that? Because this is an essential requirement that I have. It's the same with milk, for example. You know, rather than buy the really nice branded milk, you go for the cheap milk. Although one could argue that milk is milk, it all comes from a cow. But yeah, I look for the cheap milk options when I'm shopping, despite the fact that I get through litres of milk a week. Our family here, we get through, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 litres of milk a week. Cereals, cups of tea, coffee and all that kind of thing. And cereals is another one. You know, you muesli in the morning, and of course breakfast is the most important meal of the day, isn't it? So you know, you really ought to be buying the best high quality cereals that you can, you know, to nourish your body. But no, we go for the cheap cereals. We look at the prices and we think, oh, okay, I'll go for the home brand Rice Krispies, or the, you know, the muesli that's not a ridiculously high price. You go for the cheapest one that you can, despite the fact that you need these things. And we constantly complain about the price of petrol, for example, or gas as you call it in the US. We're constantly complaining about the price of water, electricity, the council rates, the tax that we pay. All of these things, guys, are essential things. Like, for example, even tax. I don't mind whatever the tax is, whatever the tax rate is on your salary. I don't mind paying it, because it pays to make sure that the police come and assist you when you phone 911. It ensures that the roads aren't full of potholes, or if a pothole does develop, that you know, there's actually somebody that's paid to come out and fix it by the council, because you pay your council rates. So these are all things that we need. Again, these are essential services that we're paying for in tax and in rates, but we hate paying for it. We don't want to pay any more than we really need to. So how is it then, when you take all these things into account, and we are for a lot of these products talking about just a few bucks here and there, my tins of beans, for example, and I'm probably going to keep coming back to baked beans because I like them so much and I think about them all the time. Why is it that the difference between a really nice tin of baked beans and a really cheap tin of baked beans is 10–15%? You know, really we're talking about 50 cents a tin. Why is it that that's a big deal to me, when the difference between, you know, an Omega Seamaster, for example, and a Casio G-Shock is about $10,000, but I'm okay with that. I can justify that. I can also justify spending $10, $15, $20,000 on a wristwatch when I can't justify spending an extra 50 cents on a tin of baked beans. So this is a paradox, isn't it? So the things that I must have in my life, the things that I need in my life, I want to spend as little money as I possibly can on. But the things that I don't need, the things that are completely superfluous in my life and completely irrelevant and don't really change me as a person. And I will warn you guys that owning a Rolex doesn't make your manhood grow. It doesn't make you more attractive to women. It really doesn't. So, you know, there's no side benefit, you know, to spending all this money on wristwatches. There really isn't, I'm sorry to say. So, you know, Omega releases a watch with a chronograph, no date, a cartoon picture of a dog in the dial, and they make it a slightly different colour, and you go nuts for it, you go ballistic for it. You actually go bonkers, lying awake at night thinking, and I'm talking about the Snoopy moonwatch here, of course. You know, you go bonkers thinking about that watch, and some people put themselves on a list for that watch. A wait list for this watch. You know, a watch that doesn't have a date is actually quite hard to read the time. Doesn't have even necessarily a sapphire crystal, and it has a cartoon dog lying down in the dial. And we're grown adults, of course. You know, and we go nuts. We you know, this is really important to us. But the you know, the council rates are a rip-off. You know, absolute rip-off. So another example is you know, these garish dials that get released and get called limited editions. You know, what's that about? Why do we go nuts for limited editions, guys? What's the purpose of this? The Moonwatch, the Blancpain 50 Fathoms swatch hash. You know, why do we go bonkers for this stuff? And why are we prepared to put down even more than retail to get one? It doesn't make any sense at all. And the other side of it is, whilst I'm on a roll here, NATO straps and leather straps. Honestly, the price that I see advertised for some NATO straps just, you know, just makes my eyes water. But I know that there are some of you guys out there are paying $100 plus for a NATO strap, which probably cost about $4 to make. Including materials and labour. It's absolutely crazy, isn't it? So why is that? Is this just something that you know, that afflicts watch enthusiasts as well? Because that's the other thing. That's the other thing I was thinking, guys. Is this a watch thing? Is this a watch issue? And I think it might be. I think there are many hobbies out there where the people that are invested in that hobby don't have this same affliction, where they'll happily go and spend 10, 15, 20 grand on something they've already got. Because what we're talking about here really is, you've got a watch collection. Let's say you've got a watch box and it's got 5 watches in it, 5 $10,000 watches in it. It doesn't matter whether it's 5 $500 watches in it, that's still too much money. But if you've got one slot spare in that case, you have to fill it, don't you? You don't need the extra watch, but it does your head in that you've got a slot, an empty slot in your watch case. So you'll go and drop another $500 on that limited edition Seiko with the garish dial, or you'll be absolutely over the moon when you get a phone call from an AD and saying, oh, that watch that you want that's got no date and is quite hard to read and it's got that cartoon dog on the dial, it's available, would you like to come and get it? You'll just scream in there like a child on meth, and you'll just scream in there, won't you, and drop 15, 20 grand on that watch, or $500 on the Seiko, whatever it is. And then you'll go to the supermarket afterwards and start going, yeah, don't want to get those beans, even though they taste nicer. They're 50 cents a tin more. You know, this is crazy, guys, isn't it? There's absolutely no logic to this whatsoever. So I don't have an answer for it, by the way. I'm just calling it the value paradox, and it's just really interesting to kind of verbalize this and socialize this with you guys, and just get some feedback on what you think. Because when I look at my own hobbies, obviously I've got lots of other hobbies, right? I mean, I'd say watch collecting is the one that I probably spend the most time thinking about, and certainly by a long shot the most amount of money is spent on this hobby. But I've also got quite a keen interest in paddling, kayaking, And I've had the same kayak, right? I've had the same kayak now for the last 9 years, and I've never had the urge to change that kayak. There are better kayaks out there, there are nicer looking kayaks, there are better spec'd kayaks, probably faster on the water, and it's the same with the paddles. I could probably get some really nice carbon fibre paddle that would be lighter, but guys, I've had the same gear. I've even got the same life jacket, the same life vest. I've had that for about 8 years now. It's all tatty and dirty, and you know, but I still chuck it on every time I go out, and I've got absolutely no wish to spend any money on that hobby any more than I need to, because I enjoy it perfectly well as with all the gear that I've got now. And I'm also into marine fish keeping, by the way. I've got a 300 litre marine tank. Now, you can drop an awful lot of money into marine fish keeping. If you don't already know that, then trust me, you can spend and waste an awful lot of money on marine fish keeping, just on things like that, not just the tank itself, but the lights, the equipment, the protein skimmer, the dosers, the refugium. You know, you can spend thousands on fish. But again, you know, it's a hobby that I try and spend as little as I possibly can on. I love the hobby, I love my tank, I love my setup. There's lots more that I could do with it, but I'm very happy with the gear that I've got, and I won't replace any of the techie stuff until it wears out. So this takes me back to watches. You know, why do we just have this insatiable desire to just keep buying watches, and why is it that the value of that product is almost irrelevant? If you've got the money, you will make yourself decide that it's worth that amount to spend, won't you? You won't even consider most of the time the fact that $10,000 Seamaster that you've bought, that you didn't really need, but you bought it because it fills in slot number 6 in your watch case. That $10,000, what could you have spent that on? I mean, what could you have bought with that 10 grand? And never mind the thousands, it's the same when you buy a watch for 500 bucks. You know, that Seiko, that Timex, you didn't really need it. And you've convinced yourself that it's worth every dollar, every cent. But then you, on your way home from putting your $500 Seiko on, you know, you'll think, oh, blow! I've got to fill the tank up with gas, you know, with petrol as I call it. And you'll drive another couple of k's down the road to buy your gas at a slightly cheaper price than the other station that's a rip-off, you know. And everybody thinks that some gas stations are ripping you off, don't they? But you know, compared to the rip-off, guys, and let's finish this by saying, compared to the rip-off that is the luxury watch hobby, paying an extra few cents for your gas and paying an extra 50 cents a tin for your baked beans is actually really, really good value when you think about it. And the rip-off that is the luxury watch market, there's no value there at all, really, is there? You might as well just put your $150 G-Shock on and forget about it and go and enjoy your baked beans and your expensive gas a lot more. That's my view anyway, and I don't know the answer. I don't know how to get out of it. I just think it's a paradox, isn't it? It's the things that you need, you don't want to spend any money on, and the things that you don't need, you want to spend as much as you can on. It's crazy, guys, isn't it? This is watch collecting madness, really, isn't it? The value paradox of luxury watches. So let me know what you think, guys. It's just, like I say, it's just, I think it's an affliction that most watch collectors have, is that they appreciate value in watches that they just don't appreciate in the basic necessities of life. Let me know if I'm right. I think I've pretty much over the years got to the stage where I think that's the case for most of us. But let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you like the content, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.